It is. So you don't have to join because you're in week 7. I don't know if they've done a class like this before. You just want to, get a refresher. But yeah, this is intended for the ladies that are on week 2, 3. Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna still let a couple more minutes just to make sure that everyone that wants to join is on.
Good morning, Celia. And I'm going to go ahead and mute this. So if there's any talking in the background, we won't have it. It won't interfere. Okay.
Okay. I think I'm letting everyone in. Okay. So I was going to try to show the camera just so that you guys can see me, but it's not working. So, well, I just wanted to show my face a little bit. And I don't know if you guys want, the ones that are in the classroom, if you guys want to close the door once we get started. Can everyone see the presentation pretty good, or does it look too small? Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can see the presentation good? Good. Okay.
It's just a little small.
It's just a little small. Let me see how I can do it. Mm-hmm. Just bear with me. Hold on. I'm trying to figure it out. This book, from getting licenses, from renewing, from infection control, what can you do, what you can't do, etc. For my ladies that are, go ahead. There's a question.
You would be uploading this one?
I'm gonna, yeah, so this should be uploaded. I'll double check so that you guys can have it handy. All this information you can also Google it. Like if you go under Texas Cosmetology Laws and Rules book, you can also see it in there. I believe it's also in the TDLR website, but I'll upload it for you guys. It could be handy.
Yeah, because I missed it. You said that this book will be sent to us. We will get this, or this is something that we need to purchase?
So the first time it should be sent to you, when I was going for my license for lashing, it was sent. The only thing is I can't remember if you get it after you get licensed. So I'll double check with Braden or Miss Monica because it's been a minute since I got it, so I can't remember. I want to say that you get it after you get licensed. They email it, they send it to you by mail. After that, then you would have to buy it, or you would have to get it every year and make sure you have one handy. I've heard people say, God bless you, I've heard people say that they get it automatically. I've never gotten it automatically. I always have to request it or get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's go over, I'm going to go over the main points. This is basically going to break down, it's going to be broken down between what's applied to both SDs, Cosmos, and lashers. And then also, then it breaks it down in categories, just what pertains to SDs, just what pertains to lash artists, and what pertains to cosmetologists, okay? So in this first section, this is how it's broken down. Why is my thing not able to move? Oh, I can't scroll. Let me see. It is not scrolling. Hold on. Let me stop presenting real quick. Let's see what happened. Can you guys see my screen? Can you still see the toggle back? But in order for me to move the slide, I have to just be on one tab. Okay, so this section right here, so when you're in the book is broken down into categories and chapters, right? So the section that this information is in is going to be 83. So it'll be labeled like that. It'll say 83, and then the 100s are by chapter. So if you go down, you'll see then chapter 101. It's kind of broken down like that, okay? But 83, it's basically the whole category within health and safety rules. So I'm only going to go through all the most important things here. And then you guys can, of course, like I said, I'm going to put it up so you guys can go back and reference it. So chlorine, so this section here, the following words and terms when used in this chapter shall have the following meaning unless the content clearly indicates otherwise. So chlorine bleach solution, low-level disinfectants, high-level disinfectants, blood and body fluid cleanup. And this you will learn it towards, I think it's week 5 or 6. This basically, and it'll break it down more in detail. This basically tells you the solutions and how to mix everything. But I'm going to jump further down where is right here, the blood and body fluid cleanup and disinfectants. Add 1 to 3 quarts, 3/4 cups of household, 5.25% bleach to 1 gallon water. This information here, it's basically the chlorine bleach solution, right? Most people use EPA. I use EPA. I have EPA where I can put, like, if for my ladies that are in campus, you'll see that 3D Lash and Brow has bottles that are EPA, the spray bottles, and then we also have the containers in which has the solution. The reason why you have both is because you will use the EPA spray bottle when you're going to spray something, for example, if you're going to spray the lamp down, right? Because you're sanitizing after a client, you use the spray bottle. Or if you're going to do the lash beds, anything like that, that's why we keep a bottle also handy. Then the containers that have the EPA, that's usually for you to put your tweezers in there, okay? So really, most of the time, people just use the EPA. So clean or cleansing, washing with liquid soap and water, detergent, antiseptics, or other adequate methods to remove all visible debris or residue. This is extremely important. I've seen many ladies who they just take their tweezers and throw them into the EPA solution. In reality, you have to wash everything with soap and water first. The reason why you do that is because if it already has all your, let's say you're lashing, let's say you have whatever it is that you have that you're about to sanitize, disinfect. So if you just put it in the EPA, if it has hair on it or anything like that, you're putting that in the EPA. So now your EPA solution has been compromised, right? So you want to make sure that you wash it first with soap and water. Usually what I do is I'll grab it at the end, like the tweezers, let's say, I'll grab it at the end and I'll put a little bit of soap at the part that opens up. And then with a nail brush, I'll go in there and lightly brush the points and all around. And then I rinse it out and put it in the EPA. Okay. And that's why you want to make sure you always wash it first, because you don't want to compromise the EPA. Let's see here. So disinfect or disinfection, the use of chemicals to destroy pathogens on implements and other hard, non-porous surfaces to render an item safe for handling, use, and disposable. Disinfect in this chapter one of the following department approved chemicals. So I went over the EPA with you guys, which is an EPA registered bactericidal and fungicidal. These words, you will see them. You'll learn more about this. I think you guys are learning that this week. Let me see. This week or next week, you should be learning about that. And those things, you really want to learn them really well, because some of those questions are on your test with TDLR. Let's see here. Trying to jump to the main parts. There was one here I wanted to cover. This one right here, multi-use items. Items constructed of hard materials with smooth surfaces such as metal, glass, or plastic, typically for use on more than one client. The term includes but is not limited to such items as clippers, scissors, combs, nippers, tweezers, and some nail files. So I don't know, has anyone heard about non-porous and porous items? Is anyone familiar with those terms? So non-porous is basically something that that's not going to suck up a solution. That's how I always look at it in my head. Porous is going to be something that you can only really use it one time and you have to throw it away. So that's basically, you'll hear that terminology a lot during your career, non-porous versus porous, because you want to make sure that if something is porous, you throw that away, which explains it here on section 8. Single-use items, porous items made or constructed of cloth, wood, or other absorbent materials having rough surfaces, usually intended for single use, including but not limited to such items as tissues, orange wood sticks, cotton balls, thread, surgical tape, extension pads, some buffer blocks, and gauges. So all that stuff, you want to make sure that if you use it, you're going to throw it away. You're not going to reuse them. They don't get sanitized. Okay. They don't get disinfected. Then this basically talks about sterilize and sterilization to eliminate all forms of bacteria or other microorganism by use of an autoclave or dry heat sterilizer. So that you can take that extra step in getting an autoclave or the dry heat sterilizer. I don't know if you guys have seen, like on Amazon, they sell them. It's the little machines with the blue light. So you would first wash your utensils, your tweezers with soap and water. Then you would dip them in EPA. Once they're in the EPA for about 10-15 minutes, you can then, if you want to take that extra step, put them in the autoclave or dry heat sterilizer. You don't have to do it, but it's just an extra step to sterilize, to sanitize.
Cecilia, can we not use that alone? We have to do both steps, because I see some people, I've witnessed, they just put their tweezers in there.
No, you need to put them in EPA.
Okay.
Because one's sterilizing, the other one's disinfecting. And there's different types of like bacteria and disinfectants that can be for each one. And you'll learn those in the upcoming chapters in SEMA. Yeah, so you always want to make sure that you do both. You want to, if anything, you want to use the EPA disinfectant. That this sterilizer is just an extra step, but the most important one is disinfecting. Okay, sanitize or sanitation to reduce the number of microorganisms to a safe level by use of an ultraviolet sanitizer. And here's the thing, and I know this happened to me when I was going to school. I didn't realize that there was such a difference within the industry on sanitize, sterilization, and disinfectant. So you want to make sure that you're covering your bases on all that, because I'll be honest with you, and I know some of you ladies have probably heard me say this before in the past. I will get my lashes done by other people just to kind of see their vibe. And I've seen some places by me just walking in, I don't want to get my lashes done because it doesn't look sanitized. It doesn't look clean. And you really want to take pride into that because you're in someone's eyes. So that's the first thing that they're going to look at. I've gone to hair salons where the brushes don't even look like they're sanitized. They still have a whole bunch of hair of someone else's on the brush, and people are going to look at that. People are going to see that. And, if you're super clean, if you keep your stuff sanitized, they're going to refer you. They're going to be, oh my God, she's like clean. She's on point. I don't know if you guys have seen where I even do it. I myself do it. I take the extra step of putting them. It's a little time consuming. It can be, but I just like, me personally, I like the way it looks. I put my tweezers in the sterilization bags. So they look like they're brand new. So after I sanitize them, I sterilize them, whatever, I put them in there. After I disinfect them, I put them in there. I dry them, and then I put them in the bag and seal them. Okay, so you can buy them on Amazon. That's an extra step that you can take so that when your client comes in, they see that your tweezers are closed and it's in a whole new bag, which is so interesting because not everyone knows that you're actually reusing them. Because even my husband, when I started buying the bags, he thought that when he went to the dentist and they did that, they were always new utensils. And I told him, no, when you go to the dentist, they're used as well. They just clean them, they disinfect them, they sanitize them, they do all that stuff. And then they put them in the sterilization bags, nice and clean. So when they open them, they're fresh. You don't have to do that. You can put them in, some people put them in like little containers. The main thing is that you want to make sure that they're closed into something. You don't want to clean them and then leave them thrown out somewhere where they're getting debris and all that stuff. And then you're just going to turn around, grab it and use it on someone's eyes. That's a huge no-no because you don't know what's in the air that could fall on the tweezers and go on there. You'd be surprised what we don't see, but it's there. Okay. So let's see the next one. So this basically breaks down implements and surfaces shall first be thoroughly cleaned of all visible debris prior to disinfection. EPA registered, bactericidal, fungicidal, and you'll see these words a lot. Okay, vericidal. Because I am familiar with, and mostly my online students, I myself went through the lash course with 3D Lash and Brow. Okay, and it was when it was pretty much first starting. I know what helped me. There is, I don't know, I think Monica, there's something that has like flashcards. I can't remember I think it's within the SEMA that has flashcards, used to be Cengage. But me personally, what I would do is I would write all these words and the definitions, like how we used to do in high school, on little index cards, because I would keep them in my purse. So whether I was waiting in a doctor's office, whether I was, running an errand and just waiting somewhere, I will pull out my flashcards and study some of them. Okay, that's something that helped me a lot because I didn't always want to get on my phone and pull up the app and look at the flashcards in there. I would just manually write them myself because I learn easier when I'm writing it. And then, I would. So that's just a tip if you guys want to use that, because these words you will learn. You'll learn more about it and they'll be on the exam. Where was I? So bactericidal, fungicidal, and vericidal disinfectants become inactivated and ineffective when visibly contaminated with debris, hair, dirt, and particles. So that's just like what I mentioned earlier, that if you do not wash your utensils first, I keep saying utensils, but you know what I mean, before, if you don't first wash them with soap and water before putting them in EPA, you're just contaminating it. Your EPA, okay? And you always want to make sure that you are changing your EPA once a day. So it just depends on your flow. Once you get into your flow of lashing, I pour mines out at the end of the day. And then when I walk in the morning, I just make the solution again. And then it sits there all day. When I leave, that's part of my routine to just spill it out. This right here, section 2, where it says some disinfectants may be sprayed on instrument tools. Again, that's how I mentioned earlier, the EPA bottle. Whether you're lashing from home or anything like that, you want to have a spray bottle handy. You can buy a real little one. You don't have to have a big one like a Windex bottle. You could have a little one. Mine's is little. As a matter of fact, the one that I have purchased it first to use it to remove, when I would wash my clients' eyes, to remove the soap from their eye, but I didn't like the way it was spraying. So I used that same bottle and just started mixing EPA. Okay, and I labeled it EPA. Let's see here. This right here breaks it down. So remember I mentioned earlier when we first started, you have EPA, you have chlorine bleach solution, and you also have alcohol, okay, that you can use. I still have not met someone till this day that actually used the chlorine or alcohol. But this basically breaks it down, what you can and cannot do and what the mixing proportions are. So if that's something that you decide to do in the future, you can pull this book and find that. I'm not going to go through the details of that right now because, I mean, pretty much everyone uses EPA. Let's see. Um, So all cosmetology establishments and licensed shall utilize the clean and disinfected equipment, tools, implements, and supplies. A licensee may not perform service on a client if the licensee has reason to believe. Oh, here's this one I wanted to cover. So this one right here, a licensee may not perform services on a client if the licensee has reason to believe the client has a contagious condition such as head lice, nits, ringworms, conjunctivitis, or inflamed, infected, broken, raised, or swollen skin or nail tissues, or an open wound or sore in the area to be serviced. So this basically gives you the right to deny a client if you feel uncomfortable. I know sometimes people have a hard time saying that, if you don't want to take a client, you might be a little shy and you don't want to be rude. But you can reference this and say, hey, I can get my license taken away if I service you and you have head lice, because then I'm going to contaminate the rest of my clients. I'm going to contaminate my studio, myself, and then my family. And then it goes further out. You know what I mean? So if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. So if you're looking at someone and they look like they have head lice, but you're not sure, but you keep looking at them and you keep feeling like you're seeing something, but you're not sure, then go ahead and, stop the service. To this day, I've been lashing for 3 years. I thank God, let me knock on wood, I haven't ran into a situation like that. When you're lashing, the most that I've ever seen is that they have a lot of gunk on their lashes. But I haven't seen it to where it looks like it can be something. It don't look like, blepharitis or something like that. So you just have to make that executive decision, because remember, it's your business. So you can do what you want if that's what you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable lashing that person, okay? This then goes a little bit further. Multi-use equipment, implements, tools, and materials not addressed in this chapter shall be cleaned and disinfected before use on each client. Which that is, you guys know that already. You do need to, before every client, disinfect and sanitize all that stuff, except as otherwise provided in this chapter. Chairs and dryers do not need to be disinfected. Now, that's for cosmetology. Ladies with lash beds, if you putting something on top of the bed, like how we have there at 3D Lash and Brow, the paper, then yeah, you don't have to, because all you do is take the paper off and then add another one. You could add that extra step and sanitize just to be safe. I always still sanitize the lamps, because the lamp, you pull it down towards your client's face. So you just want to make sure that you give it a little spray and wipe it down. Mostly because some of you are sharing beds. So if you have a client now, you'll have someone else probably go behind you or before you. So, whoever's before it should wipe all that stuff down as well. But this basically tells you that, you want to make sure, where was I? I'm sorry, hold on. On the chairs and dryers, we don't handle that stuff. So let's see. This kind of breaks it down further. Let's see. Single-use equipment, tools, or porous items not addressed in this rule shall be discarded for porous items. Yeah. Let's see what else. It was a certain part here. It was up here. This is what I covered earlier a little bit, but just so that you can see where it's at on the book, it's letter F. All clean and disinfected implements and materials when not in use shall be stored in a clean, dry, debris-free environment, including but not limited to drawers, cases, tools, belts, rolling trays. Rolling trays, if something's on there, not that the rolling tray has to be contaminated in something. No, it's just anything that's on the rolling tray, you need to make sure it's closed in. That's why when you're on Instagram or anything like that, and you see some girls that they have containers for their tape or for their gel pads, anything like that, which the gel pads are already closed. They already have their wrapper on. But, a lot of the times, all that stuff, whether it's the lip applicators that we use to wash the lashes, all that stuff, you see that they're closed in. If they're not, then that's a huge no-no. That's a red flag. If I see people that they just have their stuff with an open face, basically, and it doesn't have a cover, then I know that they're not very sanitized, because anything can fall on that and they're going to put it on my face after. Okay. Let's see. So I'm just floors. So Me personally, I'm not gonna sweep fully and mop fully after every client. What I do is what I do what I do is I bought one of those Easy Swiffer ones that have the wet little towel on it, that you can attach at the bottom. And after every client, I give it a little quick. I guess that's the same thing as a mop, because when I think of a mop, I think of the big mops. But you can just clean your floor with that really quick. I like doing it. I mean, my clients, they like when they come in and it smells fresh. So you want to make sure that you're constantly sanitizing. So that's a nice little touch to add. Okay. Trash must have a closed top. So if you have the kind that you can put your foot on and then the top closes, that's the best one, because if you have one that's open, you just have that all open in the air. Or if you have one that you have to open constantly with your hand, what's going to happen is when you're lashing your client and you have to throw something away, you're opening the trash can and you just contaminated your hands, and then you're touching your client's face. Even though you're sanitized, it's just, honestly, it's just like, so, you want to make sure that you get something where you can just put your foot on it and you don't have to touch nothing, Let's see. You want to make sure that everything's labeled properly. That's why when I mentioned earlier about the EPA and I labeled it myself, and you'll learn about that more when you're doing your mock board. Because when you go for the state board, you have to label everything. So even when you have your studio suite, et cetera, if you have a bottle or anything, you need to make sure it has a label on it. And you can just do that, like just a label with a little label machine if you want to look more professional. A little, just a cutout and just write on there EPA. You can do that as well. So this right here is going to go more into hair cutting, styling treatments. I'm not going to go over that. But if you guys, again, if I don't think anyone that's SD or Cosmo is on this call, but you guys can reference that later on if you want to find out more into depth on the aesthetics part of it. Okay. Then I'm going to jump to same thing, temporary hair removal. We don't do that as a lash artist. Manicure, pedicure, we don't do that. Electric drills and bits, we don't do that. So see, the book just basically breaks it down into categories. And that's why, again, it's really handy to keep this book, because just in case you're not sure of something, you can reference it. Health and safety standards, foot spas, foot basins, and spa liners. We don't do any of that. We don't use that. Let's see. Wigs and hairpiece. Blood and body fluids, you're going to definitely learn more about this. Let me see here. Blood can carry many pathogens. For this reason, licensee should never touch a client's open sore or wound. This is going to be